The rain was coming down in sheets as I drove home, the wipers of my old Volvo working overtime. I was late, as usual. A new project at the software company where I worked had me burning the candle at both ends. I was 46, my name was Alaric, and I lived in a small town outside of Seattle. My wife, Bronte, and I had been married for 18 years. We had two kids, Linnea, who was 16 and just starting to think about college, and Torin, who was 12 and obsessed with video games. Bronte worked as a librarian at the local branch. She loved books, old movies, and quiet evenings at home, or at least that's what I thought she loved. Lately, though, things had felt off. She was distant, preoccupied. I chalked it up to stress. Everyone was stressed these days. I pulled into the driveway, the tires crunching on the gravel. The house was dark except for the porch light. Usually Bronte would have the living room lamp on, a warm invitation after a long day. I frowned, a knot forming in my stomach. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. "Bronte, I'm home," I called out, my voice echoing in the silence. No answer. Linnea, Torin, still nothing. I checked the kitchen. A note was stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet shaped like a cat. "Kids are at Alara's house for a sleepover. I'm at a book club meeting. Back late." It was signed with Bronte's familiar looping signature. I sighed, relief washing over me, of course. A book club meeting, that explained everything. I felt a pang of guilt for even suspecting something was wrong. I was just tired, overworked, and probably imagining things. I went upstairs, changed into comfortable clothes, and headed back down to the kitchen to make myself some dinner. As I opened the refrigerator, my eyes fell on Bronte's purse, sitting on the counter. It was a new one, a stylish leather bag I hadn't seen before. Nice purse, I thought, must be a gift from her sister, but then something made me pause. Bronte never left her purse on the counter. She always hung it on the coat rack by the door. And why was it supine? A strange curiosity, or maybe it was a premonition, washed over me. I reached out and gently opened the purse a little wider. Inside, nestled among her wallet and keys, was a small, folded piece of paper. My heart began to pound. I knew somehow that this wasn't going to be good. I unfolded the paper. It was a receipt from a local motel. The date was today. The room number was 212. My breath caught in my throat. A motel? Bronte, it couldn't be. There had to be some mistake, but deep down I knew there wasn't. A wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair. The sound echoed in the suddenly silent house. My mind raced. Who was she with? Why? What had I done wrong? I sank into a chair, the receipt clutched in my hand. My world was spinning. Everything I thought I knew about my life, about my marriage, was suddenly crumbling around me. I had to know. I had to find out the truth. I grabbed my keys and ran out the door, the rain plastering my hair to my forehead. The motel was only a few miles away. I drove there like a man possessed, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. When I arrived, the parking lot was nearly empty. The motel looked seedy and rundown, the kind of place you wouldn't take your worst enemy. I parked the car and walked towards the entrance, my legs feeling like lead. The woman behind the front desk looked bored and indifferent. I asked her if room 212 was occupied. She glanced at her computer screen and nodded. "Yes, sir. Just checked in a few hours ago." I didn't say anything. I just turned and walked away, my heart shattering into a million pieces. I stood outside room 212 for what felt like an eternity. I could hear muffled voices inside. I wanted to burst through the door, to confront them, to demand an explanation, but I couldn't. I was paralyzed by disbelief and pain. Finally, I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. The voices stopped. There was a moment of silence, and then I heard Bronte's voice. "Who is it?" I didn't answer. I just knocked again, harder this time. The door opened a crack and Bronte's face appeared. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw me. "Alaric, what are you doing here?" I pushed the door open wider and stepped into the room, and that's when I saw him. He was sitting on the bed, half-dressed, his face flushed with guilt. It was Valerian, my best friend since college. I stared at them, my mind unable to process what I was seeing. My wife, my best friend, together, in a motel room. "Alaric, it's not what you think," Bronte stammered, her face pale really. "Because it looks exactly like what I think," I said, my voice trembling with rage. Valerian stood up, his eyes darting nervously between Bronte and me. Alaric, I can explain, he said. Explain? Explain what? Explain how you could betray me like this. Explain how you could sleep with my wife. I shouted, my voice cracking. Bronte started to cry. Alaric, please just listen to me, she begged. Listen to you. I've been listening to you for 18 years. And all that time you've been lying to me, deceiving me, making a fool of me. I turned to Valerian. And you, I trusted you, I considered you my brother. How could you do this to me? Valerian hung his head. I'm sorry, Alaric, I don't know what to say. Sorry. Is that all you can say? Sorry. I grabbed him by the collar and shoved him against the wall. You're going to be a lot more than sorry. I punched him in the face hard. He staggered back, clutching his nose. I wanted to keep hitting him, to beat him until he couldn't stand, but I stopped myself. It wouldn't solve anything. It wouldn't undo what they had done. I turned back to Bronte. I'm done, I said, my voice cold and hard. I'm done with you. I'm done with this marriage. I want a divorce. Bronte gasped. Alaric, no, please don't do this. I can change. I promise. It's too late, Bronte, I said. You've already changed, and I don't like the person you've become. I walked out of the motel room, leaving them standing there in their shame and guilt. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still dark and heavy. I felt empty, hollowed out. My life as I knew it was over. The next few weeks were a blur. I moved out of the house and into a small apartment downtown. I hired a lawyer and started divorce proceedings. Bronte tried to talk to me, to apologize, to beg me to reconsider. But I wouldn't listen. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. Valerian also tried to contact me, but I refused to speak to him. Our friendship was over. He was dead to me. The divorce was messy and painful. Bronte fought me on everything, trying to get as much money as possible. She even tried to claim that I was abusive, that I had driven her into Valerian's arms. But I had proof of her affair, and the judge wasn't buying her lies. In the end, I got custody of the kids. They were angry and confused, but they understood that Bronte had betrayed me. They needed me, and I wasn't going to let them down. As for Bronte and Valerian, their relationship didn't last. They broke up a few months after the divorce was finalized. I heard through the grapevine that they had a bitter and acrimonious split. Apparently, the thrill of the affair had worn off, and they realized they didn't actually like each other very much. I didn't feel any satisfaction in their misery. It didn't change what they had done to me. It didn't bring back the years I had wasted on a lie. I focused on my kids, on my work, on rebuilding my life. It wasn't easy. There were days when I felt overwhelmed by sadness and anger, but I kept going, one step at a time. One evening, about a year after the divorce, I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop. A woman approached my table. She was tall and elegant, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Alaric?" I looked up, surprised. "Yes, I am." "My name is Isolde," she said. "I'm a friend of Valerian's ex-wife." My heart sank. "What did she want?" "I know what happened between you and Bronte and Valerian," Isolde continued. "And I wanted to apologize for Valerian's behavior. He's caused a lot of pain to a lot of people." I nodded, not knowing what to say. "His ex-wife, Minerva, she was devastated when she found out about the affair," Isolde said. "She's still struggling to recover. But she wanted you to know that she understands what you've been through, and she hopes that you can find happiness again." I was touched by her words. It was comforting to know that I wasn't alone in my suffering. Isolde smiled. "Minerva also wanted me to give you this." She handed me a small envelope. "It's something that might interest you." I took the envelope and thanked her. She smiled again and walked away. I opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph. It was a picture of Bronte and Valerian taken several years earlier. They were standing in a park holding hands. They looked happy and carefree. On the back of the photograph, Minerva had written a message. "This was taken 5 years before your divorce. They were having an affair long before you found out." I stared at the photograph, my blood running cold. 5 years. They had been betraying me for 5 years. All those times I had trusted them, confided in them, shared my life with them, they had been laughing behind my back, mocking my naivety. A wave of anger washed over me, stronger than anything I had felt before. I wanted to scream, to break things, to lash out at the world. But then something shifted inside me. The anger began to fade, replaced by a sense of calm, a sense of clarity. I realized that I had been holding on to the past for too long. I had been letting Bronte and Valerian control my life, even after they were gone. I had been allowing their betrayal to define me, but no more. I was done being a victim. I was done dwelling on the past. It was time to move on, to create a new future for myself, a future free from their lies and deceit. I took a deep breath and tore the photograph in half. Then I tore it again and again until it was nothing but tiny pieces of paper. I threw the pieces into the trash can and walked out of the coffee shop, feeling lighter than I had felt in years. The rain had stopped, and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. The world looked bright and new, full of possibilities. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew that I was ready to face it. I had survived the betrayal, and I had emerged stronger and wiser. I was ready to love again, to trust again, to live again. I started dating again a few months later. It was awkward at first, but I eventually met someone special, a woman named Aoife. She was kind, intelligent, and funny. She was also divorced, and she understood what I had been through. We took things slow, building a relationship based on honesty and trust. We talked about our pasts, our fears, and our dreams. We supported each other through the difficult times and celebrated the good times together. After a year of dating, we got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by our closest friends and family. My kids were happy for me, and they welcomed Aoife into our lives with open arms. I finally found the happiness I had been searching for. I learned that betrayal doesn't have to define you. It can break you, but it can also make you stronger. It can teach you valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the importance of choosing the right people to surround yourself with. Bronte eventually remarried, but I heard it didn't last. Valerian never married and continued to live a lonely existence, forever haunted by his betrayal. Karma, as they say, is a dish best served cold. I never spoke to either of them again, and I never looked back. My life was full, and I was grateful for every moment. The pain of the past had faded, replaced by the joy of the present and the hope for the future. I think the most important thing I learned from all of this is that you can't control what other people do. You can only control how you react to it. You can choose to let betrayal consume you, or you can choose to rise above it and create a better life for yourself. The choice is yours, and I chose to live. Years later, I was at Linea's graduation from college. As I watched her walk across the stage, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride and gratitude. I had made it through the darkest period of my life, and I had emerged stronger and more resilient. I had raised two wonderful children, and I had found love again with a woman who cherished and respected me. I knew that Bronte's betrayal would always be a part of my story, but it wouldn't define me. I had learned from it, grown from it, and moved on from it. I had created a new life for myself, a life filled with love, happiness, and purpose, and that I realized was the ultimate revenge.